You can ask.
Yes or no?
You can ask
Yes
me a
or
question.
no?
You can't tell me how to answer it. So,
Okay, let me put it this way, Mr. Secretary, because you're obviously not here to answer questions.
I am here to
You're
answer
It's my time, Mr. Secretary. It's my time.
Lloyd Doggett cornered Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent with a question no Treasury Secretary has ever faced. Has the IRS ever recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from a tax audit? Bessent refused to answer 5 separate times, hiding behind ongoing litigation. But Doggett wasn't asking about litigation. He was asking about history. The answer is no. No taxpayer in American history has ever received audit immunity until now. Until Trump sued the United States for $10 billion and walked away with a deal granting him and his family permanent immunity from tax audits. A deal obtained from his own former criminal defense attorney, now serving as acting attorney general. Doggett's verdict, the most corrupt deal in American history. Watch this heated hearing. If you want to support the channel and get exclusive videos, kindly hit the join button below. That's how we keep this going.
Your tenure as Treasury Secretary, has the IRS recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit for their taxes?
again, one portion of that is the under litigation, so I'm not able to.
Yes, sir. It isn't a question of being not able, it's being not want to. But my
No,
question
sir.
is
as,
about...
as I said,
Thank you, sir.
There is litigation.
Reserving
so
my time, my question to you again is...
Definition of insanity,
in the
sir.
ordinary practice of the Treasury Department, has there ever been a recommendation that a taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit of their taxes?
Sorry, what was that?
Same question. Has the IRS recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit of their taxes?
Again, I'm unable to answer that.
You can answer it. You refuse to answer. Can you tell the American people, in the history of the Treasury Department, has there ever been a taxpayer who's been recommended to have immunity from an audit of their taxes?
Has there ever been a taxpayer who had his tax returns released, his
Thank you.
family, and every
So
employee?
I'll take that as a
every
no.
employee.
Let me ask you, sir,
Congressman,
since
if
you
you'd like
say
to
you're
apologize
relying...
to the president
Thank you.
and,
I
and all
reserve...
his employees today.
Maintaining
I would
my
join you
time,
in that.
and since you refuse to answer, let me ask you, since you say you're following the advice of the Attorney General, the former criminal defense attorney for Mr. Trump, as you know, the Attorney General cannot compromise a tax dispute unless it's referred to him from the IRS for prosecution or defense. Have you ever been involved in any way in a decision to refer a tax dispute to the Attorney General?
Again, I cannot comment on that.
You can't comment. Your argument here that you can't comment in this case makes as much sense as President Trump saying that he cannot. I understand you want to talk over me, but you're not answering the question, because you may have defined insanity by referring to Einstein, but your appearance here today and yesterday in the Senate defines deception, what you're doing to the American people. Isn't it correct, sir, that the Financial Management Service within the Treasury Department must give approval before any payment can be made from the judgment fund?
Sir, we administer the payments.
Yes, sir. You give approval to it. And
no, sir, we administer them.
You make a sign-off on them being...
We administer them, just like if you tell your bank to wire money.
Did Brian...
Bank does not say do not pay, you shouldn't pay your Visa bill.
Did Brian Morrissey, who had been only confirmed by the Senate a few months earlier as Treasury General Counsel, do a good job for you? Can you answer that just with a yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, he did. And as you know, he abruptly resigned rather than be associated with the seedy Trump slush fund deal and didn't sign off on anything. Can you pledge to the committee, I'm asking you a question, sir, if you'd listen to it, can you pledge to the committee that you will assure that no retaliation occurs against the career IRS employees who wrote the 25-page memo asking the Department of Justice to halt action on this outrageous audit immunity deal?
Sir, we follow the law.
Okay, well, will you follow the law and assuring the committee that you won't retaliate against those courageous career employees?
We always follow the law.
What's involved here, sir, is the most corrupt deal in American history. Truly incredible that a president of the United States could come in and sue the people of the United States for $10 billion and then walk off with an immunity deal that no other American has ever had, nor could they receive, and to get that immunity deal from his former criminal defense attorney, who he has appointed as acting attorney general. This is the kind of corruption that would permit the Trump family, if the Wall Street Journal is correct, that Trump earned $5 billion from his crypto bills last year, to pay him or not pay him as he feels it's smart to do. He made no complaint about the audits in his petition, and yet suddenly out of nowhere, he's granted immunity in what some have said in a report would be $100,000 benefit, $100 million benefit to him. You know that there is a responsibility of your department to do audits of the president every year. A report of this committee indicates that only one was begun during the first term. What are you doing to assure that those annual audits occur this year? The first term, 3 years, nothing. Has anything been done this year to fulfill that responsibility?
Again, sir, due to IRS...
I'm not talking about...
IRS Rule 6103, which prohibits the discussion of taxpayer information.
It doesn't... It doesn't prohibit your...
This is how we got there with Mr. Littlejohn.
Yes, sir. It doesn't prohibit you indicating what you are doing to assure complicity with the law and with the practice, long-standing practice of the Internal Revenue Service. So I think we can assume from your deception today that nothing's being done, and this president is being treated in a way that no other president, no other American citizen has ever been treated.
I would agree with that, sir.
In an incredibly corrupt deal.
I would agree he is being treated the way no other person has ever been treated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us today. You were here a year ago. You came before the committee, and you closed your testimony by saying the president's bold leadership had laid the foundation for what you called a golden age economy. More recently, you said the economy could grow by at least 3.5% this year, and that Americans would see a non-inflationary boom. Mr. Secretary, I've searched hard to find constituents in my district who believe that this economy is golden. In fact, many of them are struggling more today than they were the last time you were in front of this committee. Personal savings are shrinking, disposable income is down, and families are paying more and more for basic necessities. So I would like to ask you a couple of yes or no questions about this golden economy. Electricity bills are up 8.5%. Is that golden?
Sir, you can ask...
Yes or no?
You can ask me a question. No. You can't tell me how to answer it. So...
Okay, let me put it this way, Mr. Secretary, because you're obviously not here to answer questions.
I am here to answer questions.
It's my time, Mr. Secretary. It's my time. Health insurance costs are up 26%. That's not golden. Child care costs are up 9%. That's not golden. Gas prices are up nearly 50%. That's not golden. Grocery prices are still straining family budgets. That's not golden. Mr. Secretary, working families don't feel like they're living through a golden age. And while H.R. 1 may have delivered modest tax cuts for some Americans, many families are seeing those savings wiped out by higher costs everywhere they shop. Is that what this administration considers a golden age? And it's rhetorical, so you don't even have to try and talk over me. Secretary, Mr. Secretary, what should I tell my constituents when they ask about these costs? Farmers who are being hit by high costs of fuel and fertilizers, who can't get their product to market because of the war in Iran. Tell them it's golden?
You should tell them that we've had 2.6% economic growth since President Trump took office, despite the Democratic...
These farmers are pretty smart, Mr. Secretary.
Well, the people in California, one person...
Reclaiming my time. These farmers are pretty smart, Mr. Secretary, and they're not going to fall for that line. I understand your unwillingness to testify and answer questions about details regarding the IRS settlement with the Trump administration due to ongoing litigation. But at the end of the day, your department, the Treasury Department, and specifically the IRS, is going to have to carry out its demands. And let me be very specific about what those demands are. The settlement says the IRS is prevented from raising any and all claims against the president with respect to any tax return filed before May 19th, 2026. So, Mr. Secretary, as the head of the Treasury Department, you will be in charge of carrying out the demands of this settlement. So let me present a real, true scenario for you. If on May 18th, President Trump files an amendment to his 2024 federal tax return, and the amendment says, quote, I'm owed an extra $10 billion. That's the amount that he sued the IRS, that I forgot to claim on my tax return. Is it your opinion that the settlement agreement signed by Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general and President Trump's former personal attorney, would require you to pay President Trump $1 billion, no questions asked?
We will follow Justice Department's
Okay, you
advice.
won't answer that either. Do you think this is something that the American people should know? How can you sit here and not provide any answers to the American people?
Because I follow the law,
Because it is
Congressman.
astonishing to me that the president didn't know about this deal before it was signed. Of course he knew about it. He directed it. So why not cash out on his get-out-of-jail-free card? As I read it, he can absolutely file an amendment to his tax return and claim a giant tax refund. And you have to sit there and watch while he robs the Treasury, and more important, while he robs the American people blind. That's as unacceptable as you refusing to answer questions posed to you by the members of this committee. I yield back.
Let's be absolutely clear about what Lloyd Doggett just exposed. The President of the United States sued the American people for $10 billion, then walked away with something no other American has ever received: permanent immunity from IRS tax audits, granted through a settlement negotiated by his own former criminal defense attorney. Few people in Congress understand tax law and IRS administration as deeply as Lloyd Doggett, which is what makes his questioning of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent so devastating. Doggett asks a simple historical question. Has the IRS ever recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit of their taxes? Bessent refuses to answer 5 separate times, claiming he can't comment because of ongoing litigation. But Doggett points out the obvious. He's not asking about any specific litigation. He's asking about the entire history of the Treasury Department. And the answer, Bessent won't say out loud, is clear. No. No taxpayer in American history has ever received audit immunity. The context is staggering. After Trump's tax returns were leaked in the 2020 IRS breach, Trump sued the United States government for $10 billion. But here's the key detail Doggett emphasizes. Trump made no complaint about audits in his actual petition. The lawsuit was about the privacy breach. Yet somehow, out of nowhere, the settlement granted Trump immunity from tax audits, a benefit one report estimates could be worth $100 million to him. The mechanism reveals the corruption. The Attorney General cannot compromise a tax dispute unless it's referred from the IRS. Bessent won't say whether he was involved in referring any tax dispute. And the settlement was negotiated by Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal criminal defense attorney, now serving as acting Attorney General. So Trump's personal lawyer, now running the Justice Department, negotiated a deal giving Trump tax audit immunity that no other American has ever received. Doggett raises the resignation of Brian Morsi, confirmed by the Senate as Treasury General Counsel just months earlier, who abruptly resigned rather than be associated with this deal. Bessent admits Morsi did a good job, but Morsi refused to sign off on the settlement and walked away. Then there's the 25-page memo. Career IRS employees wrote a detailed memo asking the Justice Department to halt this audit immunity deal. Doggett asks Bessent to pledge no retaliation against those career employees. Bessent will only say, "We follow the law." The final point is constitutional. The Treasury Department has a responsibility to audit the president every year. A committee report indicates only one audit was even begun during Trump's entire first term, 3 years of nothing. Doggett asks, what's being done this year? Bessent hides behind taxpayer confidentiality rules. Doggett's conclusion captures the magnitude. This is the most corrupt deal in American history. A president sued the people, then extracted from his own appointees an immunity benefit no citizen has ever received. And when Doggett notes Trump is being treated unlike any other American, Bessent inadvertently agrees. He's being treated the way no other person has ever been treated. The secretary accidentally spoke the truth. You're watching Inside Politics. Hit that subscribe button and help us reach 100,000 subscribers and comment your thoughts.